Hello and welcome to Time for Reflections. In the Bible, in the Gospel of John, in chapter 6, there's a passage where Jesus says, "I am the bread of life." And later on, when he says that unless people eat his flesh or drink his blood, they will not have life. Now, what does all that mean? People have often questioned this and debated it over the years. And of course, you can imagine the confusion amongst his listeners and his followers at the time. You can imagine what they were saying to each other. What is he on about? How can we eat his flesh and drink his blood? This is cannibalism, surely. This is too much for us. We don't want to follow this guy any longer. And actually what happened, a number of them just got up and left. So what did Jesus do? He didn't say, "Hey, wait a minute, you didn't understand what I meant. This is what I really meant to say. Let me explain." No. Jesus let them go. He didn't try to justify himself or what he said. He just let them go. It was as if he dissolved the unspoken contract between them. They could not accept a certain clause, so he let them go. They could not accept what he said, so that's it. They can go their own way. And remember, in the Last Supper, he repeats those words. He says, "This is my body. This is my blood." Anyway, after the people left that couldn't follow him anymore, Jesus turned to his disciples and asked, "How about you? Do you want to go as well?" As ever, Peter was the first to answer. "To whom shall we go?" he asked. "We're in this for the duration, all the way to the end," or words to that effect, signifying that he trusted Jesus without question, albeit, no doubt, he must have had many questions in his mind. Peter accepted Christ's words without question and stepped out in blind faith and dared to believe. Now, as I said, many people over the years have tried to understand this and tried to explain it. Some say that it was all symbolism and imagery. Jesus was using common day articles of the time like bread and wine to signify the sacrifice he is to endure for us. His flesh would be torn by the beating and the nailing to the cross, and his blood would be spilled for us. It was all symbolism, some people say. Well, quite frankly, I am with Peter on this. I don't believe there is much to be gained in debating it ad infinitum, because in reality, I doubt any of us will ever come to a satisfactory conclusion. Wiser heads than mine have argued this matter over the years, much to the amusement of Jesus looking down from above. So any efforts by me to interpret it would no doubt have Jesus rolling on the floor with laughter. So I am minded to accept it, I suppose, for what it is, something that Jesus said, and we are to believe it as best as we humanly can. Now, there is no point in closing our eyes tightly and repeating over and over again, I believe, I believe, I believe, even though I don't understand, I believe. God, who can see deep within our hearts and knows our human nature and its failings, realizes that it is too difficult for us to understand. But then, He doesn't ask us to understand. He asks us to love Him and to trust Him without any evidence whatsoever. That's what is called faith. To believe when your common sense tells you not to. Thank you very much for listening. God bless.